Speaking of all things NFL, Michael, it's Monday here on the West Coast, Monday morning, 9:15 a.m. Boss says, hey, step into my office, and let's do that right now with you, Michael. We're going to start with Saquon Barkley and the New York Giants. I'm excited for this. I have watched so many step into my offices in the past. Is that the proper plural? I think it is. But I've not been able to participate in one. So let's start off with Saquon here in the Giants, where he's yet to sign the franchise tag, and a lot of people wondering what's going on there with Big Blue.
Well, I think if you're Saquon, you just should sign the franchise tag. I think what we've seen, Saquon, is the market is not trending towards paying running backs. I mean, Dalvin Cook's out there with a $10 million cap number. They've been waving him around. And unless you get a deal that's very front-loaded, you don't want to sign the tender. Because remember, you could become a free agent next year, and you could be out in the market, and somebody might be willing to pay you this market deal that you want over $16 million. I think it's going to be unrealistic for you to get that deal. Now, the thing you've got to do is you've got to play better in the passing game. I mean, when you average 5.6 yards a catch, that's not enlightening people to want to say, hey, you're a weapon, we're going to get you the football. Alvin Kamara and Austin Eckler are at over 9 yards per catch. That's what we're looking for. We need you to be productive in the passing game. Tony Pollard's at 10 yards a catch. So, to me, I think your best bet is to sign this tender, get guaranteed. You've been able to stay healthy. You missed one game last year. It's the first time in your career since your rookie season you didn't miss a game. So we need you to be durable. We need you to be healthy. But I don't see you getting a kind of record-breaking deal from the Giants because the market is saying don't pay you.
And that's where you look at Giants GM Joe Schoen, who has publicly said they're going to reconvene, take their time, look at what the potential options will be. But you talk about receiving the ball, and Saquon Barkley hasn't caught over 90 passes since his rookie year. So, yeah, how much of it, and as much as you avoid the whole statement like the damaged goods, it's like, yeah, there's still a guy who, despite really good production last season, just in general, running the ball, it's not a guy who's 21 anymore, right? And he has injuries from his past. So that's an interesting point, at least on Saquon Barkley, as he is our first step into my office candidate. I know I'm excited to get Pritch on because we'll talk more about this with his alma mater, University of Colorado, the Buffaloes. But Deion Sanders, a lot going on right now with Deion, Coach Prime, and the whole state of that Buffaloes program.
Well, I think the concern, Deion, you have to have is it isn't that you got rid of a bunch of bad players that were recruited by Colorado before you got there. Is some of the guys you've recruited are now leaving too. So we're going to have a little bit of a problem of connectivity here. You know, and I think to me, you've got to have a more of an open door policy. There's a lot of guys that are leaving the program that have never really spent any time with you or allowed to be around you. You know, you are a celebrity. There's no denying that. But now you're a football coach, and being part of being a football coach is connectivity. I know you're running this operation like a CEO, and I think that's really admirable in letting your coordinators coach the team. But there's got to be a connection between you and the team. And I think ultimately listening to some of the players leaving there that are concerned about not having access to you, players want to gravitate to. You've got a magical quality in your personality that players want to gravitate to you, and they feel your leadership. And every video I see of you on Instagram is sensational about demanding from the players. But you've got to be part of the lifestyle, too. You just can't be at 35,000 feet. You got to be on the ground floor. And I think you've got to do a better job of, when you bring kids in, making them feel at home. Because when kids come and then leave immediately, that's not good for the program. That, to me, is where there's got to be concerns. It isn't the fact that you ran off a lot of Carl Durrell's players. It's the fact that some of the players you brought in, you're running off.
All right, it's one thing, and we fully expected a lot of transition when a team goes 1-11, a roster completely bereft of talent. So it's not a shock to see so many players hit the transfer portal. It's more that in the last 2 weeks, we're at almost 50. Just since the spring game alone for Colorado, and we'll again talk more with Mike Pritchard and Michael Calabrese on this because win total set at 3 for Colorado. A lot of people will buy into the hype of Coach Prime, but there's still a lot of holes to fix, at least on that roster. As we continue stepping into Michael's office, I'm glad we have this on the docket here today. As my, you know me, I'm from Wisconsin, got Cheesehead, born and raised, but Jordan Love going to be an interesting year. Gets the contract extension to 1 year, but the Packers do not pick up his 5th-year option, saving the team about $7-8 million in guaranteed money. Big season coming up for Jordan Love, as we well know. Michael, what's your biggest advice to him heading into this offseason?
I think, Jordan, you did a great thing. I think by not waiting around for the 5th year, you've given yourself 2 years of rope. Because let's be honest here. I mean, when you break down the National Football League and everybody wants to talk about, we got to get back into the first round to get the 5th year. You know, only 2 players drafted of the 15 in the last half of the draft had their options picked up. Right? Only 10 players of the first 17 in your draft class got their option picked up. So getting the 5th year, nobody wants it. But what you did was you allowed yourself to get guaranteed that you're going to have 2 years to develop. And I think it was a really smart deal for Green Bay. And it was a smart deal by you because now you two are vested. You two are going to say, we're not looking at 16 games, 17 games. We're looking at 34 games to see where we are and what we need to do as you as a player. I think you did a smart thing. Now you have time to develop. And I would urge you not to panic. Like, take time to develop and grow because this is ultimately your rookie year. There's no sense of urgency. Am I going to get my 5th year? Am I not? Everybody doesn't get their 5th year. It's the biggest fallacy in sports. Well, we got to get in the bracket the first round to get the 5th year. Nobody gets it. Nobody wants it. 12 players out of 32 got it out of your draft class. I think you did a great thing.
And you go back to the first game action he actually had in the COVID season. A lot of people heading into this year will point to the one start Jordan Love has made in his career against Kansas City when Aaron Rodgers was in COVID protocols. Love could only muster 7 total points, and it was a late touchdown with the Packers down 13-0 as evidence that, well, the guy's not ready. No matter what the Packers are saying behind the scenes, he just hasn't made the strides. But, Michael, it's going to be, almost 2 full years, it's like 21 months since then when he actually takes the field for preseason in August. So isn't it a little bit of a fallacy to suggest, well, just because he sucked in his one pro start, he's a completely different guy since then, and you can at least believe that some of those strides have been made.
Yeah, I said this on the pod, Ben. We started off the year after the combine. We entered lying season, and then after the draft, we entered proclamation season, and now we're into light years ahead season. Everybody's light years ahead. Oh my God, Justin Fields is light years ahead of where he was last year. We haven't played a game, but he's light years ahead of everywhere he's been, right? Like that's the rhetoric out there. Now, Jordan Love's there's no sense of being light years ahead. We haven't played any games. I mean, unless Fields and Love played in the XFL, I don't remember them playing a game. So I think you got to be careful and cautious as you're moving forward here. And my thing to Love would be patience.
Yeah, no doubt.
Let's get things going. Let's get good at something before we try to be good at everything.
Yeah, my point is just, look, clearly the adjustments and improvements were made from his first year of action to last year. As much as I was not a believer with everything the Packers were saying, oh, he's made great improvements on his reads, he at least looked like he'd made those improvements. Now, there's going to be a big adjustment period to come going from a backup to a full-time starter, and that's what we're waiting to see there on Jordan Love. Last player stepping into your office, Michael Lombardi, Kirk Cousins, 35-year-old now QB, and he had this quote, I want to be in Minnesota, kind of a no-brainer. Hopefully we earn the right to do that. He knows this is a make-or-break season for his future there in Minneapolis.
I think, Kirk, to me, it comes down to at some point when is enough? I mean, you've made a lot of money. You've made $231 million over your NFL career. You've taken away, as Tony Soprano would say, you've eaten all the spaghetti. You've taken all the ravioli. You've done it all. You've left your team completely void because you've been the only guy to eat. At some point, when are you going to take the Patrick Mahomes path? When are you going to take the Tom Brady path and take less? If you want to stay in Minnesota, it's really up to you. Take less money. Take less money. You can't be the highest paid quarterback who doesn't win a playoff game. You can't be one of the highest paid players in the league who just racks up numbers but doesn't produce playoff wins. So really, I don't really want to hear the rhetoric about how badly you want to be in Minnesota. Show me. Take less of a contract. Don't be the guy that has to have all the money. Because at the end of the day, when your career's over, the money's great, but you're going to have no rings.
3-year, $84 million contract from a couple seasons ago. Now he enters into year 3. And it's a team, Michael, we're going to talk about later on in the show because I have to imagine, don't you think everybody is going to look at Minnesota with their incredible record in one-score games and say this is just the obvious clear as day regression candidate?
I don't know how lucky they can keep being. Can they continue to be lucky? I mean, look, we talked about Jordan Love. The Packers, LaFleur's going to get hit with defenses he's never really gotten hit with before because Love's in there, and you couldn't hit Rodgers with those defenses. You couldn't hit Rodgers with some of the things that Love's about to see. It's a whole different scheme in the NFC North. It's going to be completely different.
Right. The division, and look, Detroit will come out favored to win the division. Will we be able to trust the Detroit Lions this year? That is going to be an ongoing conversation we have throughout the rest of this offseason leading in to September and the start of the 2023 NFL season.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.